Let's get ready to hear the amazing story of Nick Chavez and how he went from taking care and combing horses' hair to launching his own hair care line of products and becoming the longest global brand to be featured on the shopping TV channel QVC.
I knew that hair needed shine. I knew that most of the women out there are over bleaching. So you need hydration, moisturization. I think what it all came down to is, what is the common sense approach to making something work?
Nick also owns and operates an iconic beauty salon in the heart of Beverly Hills, a meeting point for the rich and famous. Veamos cómo lo hizo.
Éxito.
Success.
Hábitos.
Habits.
¿Cómo lo hizo?
How do they make it?
Descubra las costumbres y secretos de los triunfadores.
Discover the habits and the secrets of those who have succeeded.
So, Nick, how are you?
Fernando, I'm so excited to be here with ComoLoHizo. This is so exciting. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm so honored to be a part of your journey.
Thank you so much. This is really interesting, and to me, it's an honor to be with you, to be honest. And I enjoy it very much. I know you from before, but I think that we can talk about you because you are so amazing. To me, your story is so inspiring. So let's go for it.
Thanks.
So tell me about your beginnings. Were you born, and how did it go?
Well, I'm from Yuma, Arizona, first of all. It's Nick Chavez here. And I'm really excited about this journey that I got on and, you know, making what I've made of myself and being able to share it with so many people. One of the most important things is having the mom and dad who loved me and really shared their love for us, which inspired the heck out of me. I'm from Yuma, Arizona, and there's 7 children in my family, and I'm of Latino descent. And I also have some Indian heritage, Native American Indian heritage in my DNA. So I think with all of that, with the soul of the earth and the hard-working ethics that my father put into us, you know, that seems to be what Latinos are all about. So coming from Arizona, we're farmers. So we raise wheat, barley, and alfalfa. And what I did is I used to raise horses and pigs and cattle and sheep. I was in 4-H and FFA. But then I realized going in this journey, I learned to cut the manes and tails of the horses. So what I used to do, because our family was so poor, I would actually get up early in the morning, get all the wealthy kids' horses ready. I didn't even have a pair of electric clippers. I used my mother's little scissors and my dad's little comb, and I would bevel out around the fetlocks. I would cut around the nose hairs, and I learned to cut hair. So what I did is I went from cutting the manes and tails of the horses, coming to Beverly Hills. The only difference is all you got from a horse was him to swap you with his tail. But in Beverly Hills, you got somebody who talked back to you. So it was the journey that's launched the Nick Chavez Beverly Hills brand, which is all over the world. It's a global brand. It's a hair care brand. I'm in Italy, Germany, Canada, Paris, Australia, all over the United States. We're starting Russia soon. So this global brand has really been such a huge success. I'm the longest running hair care person, or better yet, any Latino in the world who's been on TV. So that has been something that I'm very proud of, and I'm very excited. And I have such a great group of people behind me that support me and love me. And this has pushed me forward to become who I am today.
So you said in a minute your whole life, basically. But now let's go back to it and let's talk about details of it. So
absolutely.
What I'm learning is that you were living in Arizona in a ranch and you were
Right.
taking care of the horses. And then how did you jump from that life into being or wanting to be a hairdresser?
Well, it was by no accident. Actually, it was like a vision. As a little boy, I would watch TV, and I would watch everything that happened in Beverly Hills. I would see what was happening. One of my favorite shows was the Beverly Hillbillies, which was great. But most of all, I loved watching the Oscars. I would watch these shows and the glamour and all of that, and I thought to myself, I have been on so many on the ranch, driving tractors, swathers, combines, digging ditches, working for my father, bucking hay, doing all of that. And I said, my goodness, there's got to be a better way of life. You know what? I'm going to do something different. So when I learned to cut the manes and tails of the horses, I thought, wait a minute. Let me get my cousins, and I'm going to give them a hairstyle. My cousin Priscilla ended up with like a Farrah Lopez, I called it, the Farrah Fawcett look, and I cut her hair. I cut all my brother's hair. I used to braid my sister's hair.
How old were you at the time?
I was like 12.
12.
So I was at a young age. I knew.
Where do you find out in your life in terms of were you sleeping, not sleeping, but at bed, at night? Or were you kind of a lonely guy? Kind of walking around thinking, how was it?
I think probably it was all of what you just said. Being by yourself, being with the animals, being with the family, your friends were your cousins and your relatives. So I just knew that there was something different about me. I knew that there was another world out there. And I had a feeling that I was going to go somewhere and do something. I knew it at a very young age. I wasn't thinking, maybe I can do this. Whatever I did, I just knew that I had to be the best at what I did. When I would show my cattle at the 4-H and FFA, I had to be the best showman. When I would show my horses, I was the top 10 rider in the nation for years when I was showing at the NRHA reining horses. And I had some of the biggest champions in the world. And I realized I had to be the best with that.
So do you remember when you actually went to your dad and you said, Dad, I need to leave, or I want to leave? How did it go? Because many of us Latinos, we have to actually call our dads and say, you know what, Dad, I'm going to have to leave. How was your story about it?
It was really quite easy because my father was one of these men that really believed in his children. He loved us, and he wanted us to be the best we could be. And the other thing about him, he wanted us to live our life and to be happy. And I think when you come from that kind of background, it was such an easy... It evolved for me to be able to go, Dad, I'm going to go to Beverly Hills. I'm going to be a hairdresser. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he goes, okay, go ahead. Go do it. But be the best at what you do.
That's awesome.
And that was the inspiration, and my parents empowered us.
That's awesome. So you came to Beverly Hills,
yes,
where we are at this point. We're at your salon. Did you come with a lot of money? How did you?
Are you kidding? So I came with my suitcase was a Glad bag. You know the Glad bag for the trash?
Yeah.
Threw some clothes in there, and I was sleeping on people's couches and doing their mother's hair at 5 o'clock in the morning, and for my room and board, and it was so great. And then I worked in a hair salon in. Right on Sunset, and I used to sweep the floors. So, I came from
Did
very
you go to school?
No, I didn't go to school for doing hair. What I did is I was just cleaning the floors and the toilets and shampooing hair and stuff. I told him I didn't have a license, but I ended up getting a license. You know what I did? I read the book the night before. I had a photographic memory. I was one of those lucky kids that, straight A's in school and everything, but I was kind of a little quirky. So that's what I loved about it. And I think part of that quirkiness, I wasn't looking for approval or being told you can't do something like that. So I only came from I can. So I was just like, oh, well, I'll accomplish this. I'll do that.
You came to Beverly Hills, but I guess you met people that told you, don't do that. Don't be crazy. You're never going to succeed. What are you doing? Do not do that. How do you deal with that? Did you find many people?
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding? Aren't most people full of fear? And I was one of those fearless kids because I didn't have any fear. When you don't have any money and you really don't know where you're going to get your next meal from, you start to realize, I have nothing to lose. Go forward. Be who you are. Make a difference. Make it count. But be the best that you could be.
That's awesome. So you got into finally your dream of working for a hairdresser salon.
Well, I never wanted to be a hairdresser. I wanted to be a horse trainer.
Oh, my goodness. So
that's what I loved more than anything. I loved mucking the stalls, cleaning the horses, getting them ready. Like I said before, they didn't talk back. It was perfect. It was a great time. All you would get the horses to whine a little bit. You give him a carrot. He was good. You'd brush his mane and tail, and they would just make little noises at you, and you would talk to them, and you would tell them what you were going to do, and they would just listen. That's what I loved about the animals. They love you unconditionally.
So you got into Beverly Hills again, right, and you got to be a hairdresser.
Right.
And you went very fast.
Right.
I said, right. So, and then you left.
Well, what I did is so many people would always tell me, wow, you have such a great look. You're so exotic. Why aren't you a model? And I thought to myself, hey, now that's an idea. So I started getting bookings with an agency, and I would do all the shows, all the fashion shows, the runway shows at downtown at the California Mart. And then one thing led to another, and then I started working as a print model. And I started changing agencies, and I would go to this one agency called Nina Blanchard, which was like the number one agency you could work as a model. And I walked in there, and I was waiting for a friend of mine because they had actually turned me down like 5 times. So she looked at me and she goes, how come you're not with my agency? You just took the 501 Jean campaign away from one of my models. I want you. And I said, your employees that work here have turned me down 5 times. I want you now. I worked a job. I did it with Christina Turlington and Cindy Crawford. It was the North Beach Leather campaign. So from there, I went to Europe. I started working all over the world for Valentino, for Gaultier, for Dior, and that was doing runway. But then in those days, you were either doing runway or print. And then I started doing print modeling. So I was in Vogue, Mondo Uomo Vogue. I mean, it was like my life became huge overnight as a model. And I was laughing to myself, and I go, nobody's going to believe this. But my mother was watching Elsa Clench when they used to have the show in New York, and it was on TV, and she saw me coming down a runway, and she goes, oh my goodness, that's Nick. Nick is modeling. And then friends would go to Europe, and they would say, I saw your billboards on the Champs-Élysées. And then I had a big billboard for Jeff Hamilton in Times Square that was up for a year. I was the Audemars Piguet man. I was the Swatch watch guy, worldwide campaign. I mean, I did so many big campaigns, and then that took off, and then I said, okay, I don't want to model anymore. I want to go back to cutting hair. So I came back, started cutting hair.
Why? Why do you?
Because I thought that the creative side of being a hairdresser, you know, being able to speak with people, like, you know, when you're a model, they just look at you for your looks, and that's the way it was. And when I actually was in Europe modeling, I was going, oh my God, I've seen all these most famous models. I'm never going to get a job. The first interview I went on, there was like 400 models. I got the job. So I was like, whoa. So I went back to the agency. They had only the top models of the world, and it was called The First Agency, and they wanted me to be a part of them. And they go, well, go see these people, you know, and it was the Audemars Piguet campaign, and I got it. And then they came back and they go, you got that job. And I was like, really? Then I started laughing to myself. Oh my gosh, are they telling the truth? You know, I just thought I was this skinny rat that had been bullied in school, who was called the human spring. So everybody's probably been bullied, or everybody's been called every name in the book. But you know, the reality of it is, I would just laugh this off, and sure, my feelings would get hurt. I'm human. But I just knew there's something bigger. Always as a little kid, I knew there was something bigger. And I think that that's been part of my success, because I knew that that's what was going to get me to where I was going to go, to get what I wanted to get, to go where I wanted to go, to do what I wanted to do, and be who I am.
So, did you get a lot of money because
Yes.
you were successful as a model?
Yes, it was great.
They pay you well?
Yes, they paid
Was
me well.
tough?
It was so wonderful. And then I came back, and then I started doing hair care again.
So you came back to Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills, and I had a huge clientele, and I was doing all the celebrities. You know, back in the day, I was doing Margot Hemingway. I was doing Lisa Hartman. I was doing the Go-Go's. I was doing the Bangles hair. I mean, it was just like one after another. I was like in Tiger Beat magazine. I was like 19 years old, and I was just doing all of these celebrities.
How long did pass between the time that you came from Arizona and you became a model?
That probably, well, I became a hairdresser first. So that was about, it happened within like a year and a half.
Year and a half.
And you know why? Because I was the only hairdresser who would get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and wash people's hair. And I would be the first one there. I thought, okay, early bird, get the worm. And I was going to do that. Where the other hairdressers would come tracing in, hungover, tired, and whatever. And I would be there, and the ladies would go, you're always here at 7 in the morning. And I said, yes. They go, do you do hair? And I go, yep. So I started building my clientele, and before you knew that, just with hard work and to be able to have that intuition and to be able to have that strength to move forward. And when you're on a goal and you're on a mission, you're going to go somewhere. So my advice to any of you entrepreneurs out there, make sure you have your vision, know what you want, know where you're going, and get what you want and do what you want. Make it your it thing in life.
So you were doing hairdressing here, and after a year or two, you jump into become a model, a world